It is actually a lifestyle. If you know survival techniques, you can come out of any situation, anytime.
Skills in a sense of just stamina. You know, what if you're stranded somewhere? If you've never put yourself through that, then you've got nothing to compare it to if you suddenly find yourself in that situation. But if you're driving out in the desert and your car suddenly breaks down for whatever reason, you are now stuck without water. If you haven't built those skills into yourself, you will panic. Today, I'm proud to announce that these podcasts will now be sponsored by 365 Adventures, a highly renowned tourism company that offers bespoke and tailored experiences for people in Qatar, ranging from desert safaris to kayaking in the mangroves. I'm so excited to be partnering with a company that loves Qatar as much as I do. While my music celebrates Qatar, 365 Adventures gives visitors genuine experiences related to Qatar. I'm here today with Miraj Qureshi, the CEO and founder of 365 Adventures. Miraj, can you tell us about your company and a bit more about what you do?
I am born and raised in Qatar. My grandfather arrived in Qatar about 1950s, just after the oil discovery. And since then, we have been living there for a long time. I have been a very big fan of exploring the destination for how do you say that? For leisure purposes and perhaps, offer some sort of experiences that dwell between the culture, heritage, and adventure. And that allowed me to open a company because I was born there. It was easy for me to, offer something that could be that probably would be demanded in the market, such as, desert experiences, or perhaps, the tidal zones in Qatar, which has the kayaking possibility of paddling in the mangroves, which makes the experience really beautiful. Um, I mean, we started with, let's say, desert safari, but I personally have a lot of experience in slightly more extreme sports, such as kite surfing. If you want to hate your life and hate your job, you should learn kite surfing. I always tell people that. It's a very expensive sport, and you're not going to be able to resist it. Apart from that, I also do. A lot of technical things when people need information about the destination. I can, talk a little bit about the environment, the ecosystem, whatever that destination holds from the point of technicality. If you want to do a project there, if you want whatever is needed. And part of this allowed me to dive deeper into the school education programs. I'm a very big fan of outdoor education. I myself was thinking that maybe this was missing in Qatar when I was studying, and hence the idea came, and we said, okay, we need to make it affordable for people, for the students to come out and learn things on real, in basically in real life, you can say. Also, there is something that I'm a bigger fan of than the school education program itself. It's the survival. I believe that survival doesn't just teach you survival at camping or at the forest or at the desert or wherever. It is actually a lifestyle. If you know survival techniques, you can come out of any situation, anytime.
I really agree. I think that there is such a need for young people to develop those survival skills, and not survival in an extreme sense, but skills in a sense of just stamina. Stamina and the ability to go for to be able to do a 12K walk. What if you're stranded somewhere? If you've never put yourself through that, then you've got nothing to compare it to if you suddenly find yourself in that situation. And those kind of experiences in Qatar, even in the UK, I think there's a big need for that, and all over the world. But in Qatar, where your car can break down, if it's a wonderful country. But if you're driving out in the desert and your car suddenly breaks down for whatever reason, you are now stuck without water and without any real sustenance. And if you haven't built those skills into yourself, you will panic.
Definitely, and allow me to share a quick story. I was passing through empty quarter in Saudi Arabia. It's a road. I honestly, people told me that it was a very good road and it's very scenic, and I was very excited to pass through empty quarter going to Oman. It's actually a road, asphalt road. So I'm like, what could go wrong here? It's an asphalt road, and boom, I just see there's no petrol station for the next 250 kilometers. But of course, I have petrol in the car, all good. I was passing through, and somehow I was thinking, what if there's a tire puncture? And 10 minutes later, I had a tire puncture. But alhamdulillah, I have the skills, of course. More than the skills, in empty quarter, you need the sources and resources. And the resources, whatever I had my hands on, thankfully I had. And then I was like, okay, I'm not gonna take risk on this road, you know. And boom, I finished the empty quarter road, and as soon as I entered in Oman, it was not empty quarter anymore, but Oman is more deserted than Saudi Arabia. So for the next
Yeah.
1,000 kilometers, I needed to take more precaution in general. Oman is quite scatteredly populated. Saudi Arabia is, at least more populated. I mean, there's almost everywhere you go, there are people.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I think I went out with a couple of teachers once, and we just went to have a barbecue. But unfortunately, when we stopped in the desert and we took the meat out and everything, uh, the colleague of mine that was listening to music had lowered the music but hadn't turned it off. So during the entirety of our barbecue, the car's battery was on, obviously playing music at like zero point 0.5 volume. By the time we all packed up, the engine was dead, and we had nowhere to, we had no way and this is our first year actually, and so we didn't know what to do. I said, look, maybe we can get someone to jumpstart our car. So I went walking into the wilderness. Fortunately, I found a Qatari desert camper and said, yeah, he was out on the sand dunes, which is one of the things that you offer. And he goes, yeah, let me jumpstart your car. He had jumper cables. He jumpstarted our battery, gave it some charge, and then we were fine. But and now, if I'm ever stuck in the desert, I'll know that that's something that you can do. But like for young people, unless you've had experiences building up your skill set, those hard skills. In the UK, I think sometimes they get Bear Grylls in. Bear Grylls is the experienced guy that goes out in the wilderness and teaches people how to survive. He's got all sets and he's got a crew and everything, so it's not exactly as genuine as it would be if he was really in the wilderness. But schools do that because kids need to build up these skills. We don't want a young person to leave school just with an academic set of grades. We have to develop the personality, but we also have to develop the survival skills. And I think one of the things that really interested me in 365 Adventures is that you offer it to older people, and more recently you're now offering it to young people. So I wanted to ask you then, for educators and people listening into this, I'm sold on it. I'm going to try and get a lot of people onto this. But anyone listening into this podcast, what kind of programs or experiences will 365 Adventures offer to schools?
A quick one, for example, one of our school education program also has, it's a longer one, of course. This one is part of a bigger project, bigger plan, and that is that we actually take you to all the landmarks in Doha, and then we do activities around those landmarks. And those landmarks are in the city, so you can be done in one day. But the next
Yeah.
day is the task. The task is that every person it has 10 minutes to talk on a city tour, passing by one of the landmarks. So it somehow gives you an idea that not that you learn about that place, but now you know how to talk about that place. So it's two different skill sets. Yeah. I hope that answers the question, by the way.
Being a tour guide is a really, some of my friends did it during the World Cup, and they said it's really, really fascinating because you are forced to come out of your shell, and those aspects of coming out of your shell are important because the aspects of a person's enrichment and growth. And if a young person, some young people can be quite shy, they can kind of be quite closed off, but such an experience of going on a tour and then becoming a tour guide can be really, really beneficial in terms of their own personal growth and their development, and their confidence. Because in the BBC we have a show called The Apprentice, and one of the tasks in The Apprentice is a tour guide experience for a business group. And these are grown adults that are asked to become tour guides, and they're terrible at it. Some of them, the ones that win, they do really well, but the ones that don't win, they're terrible. They can't learn the facts. They can't articulate themselves. They don't know how to engage their guests. And so that's something that's, young people really, really need to develop that ability to converse, to speak, and just to be relatable. It's not always about hard facts, but getting to know people. That's one of the things that tour guides really, really do well at. And if 365 Adventures is using Qatar, and there are amazing landmarks here, and I've been here for over 11 years now, and I've seen the country grow so much. There are so many things that you can take a young person on a tour of, and then ask them, okay, now be a tour guide for these places. So I think that's a really, really enriching experience. It's something that schools should look into, because education isn't just about a young person's grades. It's about the development of the whole person. And we talk about well-being nowadays, but there's also enrichment. And such experiences will feed into university applications, because university applications, when unis look at your applications, they want to see, well, what else have you done? How is your application unique and different from all the others that we've got through with the same predicted grades, with the same AS grades? What makes you unique? What makes you you? What things have you done to shape who you are as a person? And things like events through 365 Adventures will be really, really useful.
Look, Aslam, also don't forget, for example, I was born in Qatar, but I didn't really have any idea what Qatar was trying to preach or whatever significance landmark they're trying to have, and that all changed. The whole perception was changed when I did the tour guiding course in 2016, and that is the same year I opened the company as well. I had this attitude, that okay, I'm born in here, so I know everything. But I honestly didn't know anything after I took the
Yeah.
course. And one of the things is, the MIA, the Museum of Islamic Art. If you've seen it, it resembles to something. And then I understood, okay, so Qatar, I mean, if Qatar is behind Dubai, there must be something, there must be a different agenda. And it is quite clear. I mean, Dubai skyscrapers, okay, nice in the night, but in the daytime they don't really have any significance. It's all giant towers. Whereas
Yeah.
Doha has very significant, skyscrapers. The placement of skyscrapers are also very strategic. For example, not the skyscrapers. I mean to say the landmark. The landmark of MIA is in a very strategic place. So it's looking all the way to the skyscraper. So it's not hidden. You can see it,
Yes.
And if you go to a national museum, that's a wonder, I would say. Crazy, you know. Everybody knows that. That is in a place where it's not being overshadowed by other very significant landmarks. So it is nice, Doha gives that sort of vibe. You have to understand. I mean, we all believe that.
There's a lot in Doha that can be used as a means of building those skills of confidence and of building young people's skill sets of beyond the academics. That external enrichment.
Doha, if you go back to the history, the Corniche is man-made road. So the water actually used to come all the way to Souq Waqif. Souq Waqif was, the standing market, and behind Souq Waqif was the residence. So it all makes sense, the Dhow boat, the Dhow harbor itself is opposite side of Souq Waqif, which
Yeah.
allows you to have so much content in the daytime. I mean, I can give you a very rich and enriching program inside the city for the next, 5, 6 hours. You won't get bored. And one of them could also be just going on a dhow boat, 1 to 2 hours away into the sea.
I had family visit recently, and I took them on a Dauba, and they were just blown away. And it's something that we in Qatar take for granted, but sometimes just being on the sea can really be calming and soothing in a way. Where you've got the sea air in your face, and you can see West Bay, and that there's many things you can do there. If it's an art class, then you can ask students to draw the Corniche. They can, like you said, there's also elements of geography as well, and so there's many, many things. And in all of that, it takes us. When I first started making my teaching videos, I did what you did. So I'm a firm believer in learning outside the classroom. So I used to make teaching videos outside the classroom and then bring it into my lesson and say, you have to make those links between what's happening in the classroom and in the world outside. And if you take that learning outside the classroom, then that gives students a far richer experience than just saying, no, no, only the learning only happens within these four walls.
What you said reminded me a little bit of a story. In the beginning, early days of 365 Adventures, I was so excited, for new products. So I said, let me just do Thursday nights karaoke in the Dow boat. So I started in October, which was so good, and getting, 20 people, 30 people, nice. And then I ended up getting into December. I totally forgot that December can be quite cold. And we
Yeah,
used to start at 7 p.m., 7:30. We used to gather people at 7, and then 7:30 we leave, and 10 p.m. we're back. So it was a nice 2.5 hour boat gathering. A lot of people would inquire and they would
yeah,
want to go. But oh my God, in December it was a total different story. For example, nobody was outside in the boat. Everybody tried to sneak into the cabin, and then there were people shouting on the karaoke. So they're like, "Stop this thing!" you know? And the food was not being cooked properly because not only it was
cold. Yeah,
cold, it was also very windy, and the
yeah,
barbecue on board, basically the wind, what it does, it makes the fire stronger. So the food cooks only from the outside, and that's fine with the lamb. The lamb is totally eatable, but it's not good with the chicken. So people
yeah,
don't want to risk, eating chicken. And one of those days, I realized something. In early days of 365 Adventures, we did mistakes that were quite educational, you can say. So since I did every Thursday, that means that I have to pass through all the phases of moon, right? I
yeah,
totally forgot about the low tide. You know? It wasn't on my mind. It was only until that day. And there is this part in Corniche which is quite shallow. And I totally forgot about it. And that day, the moon, the tide were low at the specific time we were leaving. We ended up coming back at 1:30, and it was another, I mean, I don't even know if I should say this. The speedboat that came to rescue, they didn't have petrol. So when they reach so when they reached to the Dow boat, they took the gas. And the Dow boat was so close to the jetty. You could see the jetty. You could see the jetty, but you
yeah,
couldn't do anything about it.
yeah,
And we tried so much, and it's like, what's the deal? It's like, yeah, we have to wait for the water to come up. And like, we cannot wait for that, of course. People want to go home.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and yeah, so then, by 1:30 everybody was gone from the boat. That was in 2017, early 2017 days. I have to say this, I was quite a young entrepreneur, so it was very, what do you call it? Risk-taking one.
yeah,
I was a risk taker, I'm like, yeah, no problem, I'll do it. One thing was affordability, the other thing is safety. Safety is not cheap, you know. Taking risk is also expensive, can cost you money, And I was what, 23 years old then, trying to, money was not an issue for me. I mean, it's not that I come from a poor background or something. I come from a very comfortable background. But for me, getting something from my family might have been help, but was it my own thing? No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted something, that I can build on, something that's more sustainable. So I was a very big fan of sustainability from the very beginning. Even when I was trying to work with my father, see, I come from a Pashtun family, right? Part of our people are in Afghanistan. These are the people that, have not been convinced by Americans. So they're very stubborn. And my father is one as well, and he wants to do business himself. So when I was in business, when I joined or when I tried to help him, I could see the flaws, and I said, the model you're following is not sustainable enough. Let's do it this way. Anyways, he didn't agree because, everybody has their own way of working, which I respect. And, if he owns it, then he should take decision. If I own it, then I should take decision. And when that was, I mean, when I left that, I started to think about, 365 Adventures. Honestly, for 1.5 years, it didn't matter to me what I make. Honestly, I swear. Uh, I was I was very interested in building a little bit of a name. And we did, the fact that you know about it, and this is, one of the first times we're meeting, um, uh, it's just a vision. The vision was that it doesn't matter what we achieve, but we need to be known by everyone. Even though we're not a necessity, we're a luxury, let's say, because we're not selling food or we're not selling any of the necessity items. We want to be known by everyone. And that is how the name 365 Adventures also come into being. We had to brainstorm so much, said, okay, we have to not just have a name, the name has to give a message. And that's how the name 365, so it's the number of the days,
Yeah.
partially because Qatar was quite boring before you came or when you came. Or the narrative was that it's very boring. Can you believe that Purple Island was discovered by actual tourists in 2020, 2012? That's less than,
Really?
yeah, that's less than 15 years ago. Before that, there was only one guy who's a pioneer called Steve. Steve was a marine biologist that got to know about the Khira mangroves, which is the Purple Island, not the Purple Island. Actually, he got to know about the Khira mangroves. Oh no, that was the Purple Island. Sorry, sorry. He knew about the Purple Island, um, I think in 2011 or 2010, something like that. And then he started offering kayaking tours or kayaking trips in 2012. And then it was it was quite interesting because Steve was this guy. He was such a good business person. He was so good that he almost didn't come out as a business person. So not only was he making money, he also was, giving a good face for tourism to Qatar.
Yeah.
He was really good, and then unfortunately he had to leave because I don't think he was very happy with the ecosystem in Qatar from the business point of view. I think that his sponsor, had something going on with him and left him with nothing. And of course, Qatar is taking a lot of precautions now to, safeguard all the investors that are coming in. But, this is a long time ago, in 2013 or 2012 or 2014. I forgot when it was. When, it was pretty pro Qataris. Now, all the countries in the GCC are opening up to foreign investment. Of course, it started by Dubai. You have to praise Dubai for that, for allowing the idea to come into the country.
I was gonna say so. This idea of karaoke on the boats actually is quite interesting because I think students aside, I think teachers would be really interested in that because at the start of the year we always have networking events for teachers, and I think I'm part of ILM Connect, and at ILM we try and connect teachers across different schools. Okay, so I think we'll definitely be taking you up on the idea of the karaoke on the boat. But even individual schools themselves, we often have inset days of training and also of end of term. So we have end of term coming up this week, and the schools often try to have like a social event, and I think karaoke on the boat would be a really great social event. Maybe not necessarily karaoke, it could just be boat cruise, on the Dow boat. I think it'd be lovely because, like you said, it's still early December, the weather's still okay. And, it can either happen now or when the weather gets a little bit warmer, not so cold. I think there's a great opportunity for schools on an individual basis to go out on a Dow boat and just to have that shared social experience where staff who don't really connect on a day-to-day basis because they're in separate parts of the building, they can get to know one another because it's very important that staff get to know each other in that way because we're all working towards the same goal of that shared vision and mission. And if you don't know someone in a department, that's quite hard that to connect with that person when you suddenly have to do something with them. So I think that karaoke or even just that Dow boat cruise is a great way of getting. That is a great thing for schools to look into when it comes to either start of the year events or end of the term events.
Definitely. See, Aslam, one thing that I always preach to my team as well, I always tell them, look, we sell adventures, but more than adventures, we sell experiences.
Yeah.
And how do I qualify for that? Qualification matters on, for example, what time are you selling what experience, okay? If you want to sell downward experience, I personally, for me, the best time is the morning time, okay? You can go on a December morning. It will be a very hard sun, okay, with a nice cool breeze. Once you enter the water, it's very nice, not too cold, not too hot. And you when you come back, you still have rest of the day remaining, right? So you can freshen up and you can go for another excursion. Or no, I mean, go for another whatever you want to do. Now, for safari, I swear to God, you can actually check this. In Qatar, people are selling sunset tours in summer at 2 p.m. But the sunset is in summer is at 6:30, and the
Yeah.
4 hours trip will finish at 6. So where are you gonna have sunset? At your house? You can have that for free. So
Yeah.
one of the things I changed during as soon as I came um, in the summer, I was noticing that how are people having sunset? So we changed the timing. There was a time I sold the sunset tour at 4 p.m. You can already imagine 4 p.m. looks very, very late in Doha because the sunset right now is at 4:45. So the idea was very unacceptable to drivers, the guides. They're like, how can you sell? I'm like, but the sunset is at 6:30, so it makes sense. By the time you reach there, you already will have the sunset, and then you're coming back. And it doesn't matter what time you leave. It matters that you leave before the sunset.
I think also I know people love sunsets. It's a big Instagrammable moment. But one of the things that you offer, which I really, really was interested in, for people who haven't done this, is the desert campfires. Because I'm quite fortunate. I've got a lot of Qatari friends, and we go out to the desert on a Friday, and we stay there until after sunset. We build a campfire. We'll create a barbecue, and we literally sit there with around the campfire, just sharing stories and talking. And that's not something that you can really do in Doha. And unless you sign up for something like what you're offering, which is the desert campfires, you won't really experience that. And I think that's something really unique. Wherever you come from whatever part of the world you come to Qatar, having a desert campfire is something that, and especially in the Qatari desert, it's amazing. Second to none. You see the sun go down, and then you start to build the fire, and you watch the fire crackle. You throw some more wood, and you'll cook something. It's amazing, and that's something that is really, really underrated. Yeah, I mean, your Instagram picture will probably be a campfire, but having the warmth of the fire is amazing. If you think back to our ancestors who would huddle around the fire and warm their hands, that's a very unique experience. You can't get that in the city, and that's one of the things I really liked that you offered.
So yeah, it is nice, but since I when I tried the desert in UAE and I tried the desert in Saudi Arabia and I tried different deserts everywhere actually, I found that Qatari desert is only beautiful. It's very beautiful because it has the sea next to the dune, so it's very nice. But the
Yeah.
camping experience in specifically the sand is not what I recommend the most. I actually see, this is the love-hate relationship. If I'm in Doha every Friday, I'm in Sea Line. If there's no wind, I'm going to Sea Line. I am.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna stay the night there.
No, 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 no. Yeah.
I'm not going to stay more than an evening. I love
Yeah.
the sand dunes. There's ni nice shows happening, modified cars. I grew up watching those. Um, it's the vibe is nice, okay? This is on a non-windy day. If it's a windy day, you will find me in Zikrit or Fuwairat, definitely, on the sand on the sea, on the lagoons or the sea.
I think if we can use this podcast to reach out to schools, to educators, and also teachers were so busy that we often don't get time to explore Doha or explore Qatar, and in these ways of drifting down the dunes or going to the deserts or like I said, just going on boats. All the things that you offer, I think they're really, really enticing to teachers, because teachers, we need our downtime more than anything. We need our downtime because we have such busy days, and it's intense from 7 a.m. until whenever we finish, depending on what school you're working at. It's intense. And so sometimes, often you can come and live and work here. Let's say someone came in September, yeah, or August actually. It's December now. I bet there are teachers out there that haven't explored Qatar. They don't know about anything beyond their front door on the school. That's it, and maybe the local Almira or Carrefour or Lulu's. They won't know about the things that Qatar has to offer beyond the obvious and the basics. So I think there's a big drive for getting to know the country that you've come to live in. This isn't just your work spot. This is your home now. You've whether you accept it or like it or not, you have migrated. You're a nomad now. You're a traveler now. Your sense of home has now become displaced in a sense, in a good way. You got two homes now. You got your home here. You got your home there. And don't say that, oh, I'm in Qatar, or this isn't my home. Well, do you have a roof over your head? Yes, you do. Are there walls and the other bathrooms and the kitchens? Yes. This is a home. You've also got a home in your home country. So get to know your home. And I think 365 Adventures is a great way to get to know your home, which is why, like I said, we're partnering up in this way, because if you like something, you preach. I'm the same way. If I like something, I will preach. Because there's so many benefits, just not only for students, but for teachers as well. I want to now ask you about looking ahead. So what's your long-term vision for 365 Adventures in the education sector? What are your long-term plans?
I want to interconnect these destinations. Doha to Riyadh, Doha to actually Al-Hassa. Hassa is 2.5 hours away from Doha. And what a nice destination it is. It's known for palm trees and it's a oasis of palm trees. One of the best dates in Saudi, if you can get, would be in Al-Hassa. The place is so crazy that from all the farming water, you know, whatever the waste was, it's not the dirty waste, it's clean waste. They threw it outside the city, so all the pipes they threw it outside in a depressed area. And it has become a national park now because the lake has become kilometers worth of kilometers water. So the water that was thrown there, and it has not mangroves, but the other one, I forgot the name. It's really nice. I mean, I want people to know about this. I want people to understand that this is a possibility.
I think it's true. I think we live with the idea of internationalism, and all the schools that I've worked in are all international schools. And, globalization means that the barriers between countries should become flexible. We should be able to interconnect these countries, and students should be able to experience things beyond the country that they live in. And if Saudi is only a stone's throw away from here, I think that there is a real possibility of interconnecting these countries, Saudi, Oman, Qatar, and interconnecting them, as long as the program that the students go on is meaningful and it helps to enrich them, helps them to grow and develop, then why not? And I think schools should look into creating those programs in partnership with companies such as 365 Adventures. My closing question then was: is there one thing that you would like teachers and parents to take away from 365 Adventures? If there was one thing you'd like them to take away, what would it be?
In a nutshell, it was 2020, okay, and that was the year of Corona. So after 4 months of lockdown, thankfully, in Qatar, I'm so happy that there was not a crazy lockdown. Alhamdulillah,
Yeah.
which was very nice and it's quite nice, yeah. One of my very good friends, her name is Anshu Jain. She's very famous MC in Doha. And she said, okay, Miraj, since it's Corona, I'm free. She's very wanted, by the way. She's always busy, so she cannot easily go out for these experiences. And she went, and after, of course, after the trip was done, and it was kayaking in the mangroves, and it was in the days that was so hot. It was so hot.
Yeah.
And when she went, she went back, and she messaged me. She said, I cannot help but thank you, or thank you enough. She says that I feel so much better after this experience. And the next
Yeah.
day she called me again. She says, I feel like my life is changing. And I was not sure what am I hearing, honestly. I'm like, so someone, your life changed after a kayaking experience? She said it wasn't that, it was the peace that I was, looking for. It was so beautiful.